Yo, yo, yo. What the fuck is up, y'all? Welcome to episode 82 of Dank Times, Danker Thoughts with me, Angelo Grosso. And right away, I want to self-flagellate myself here for the last podcast where maybe it was just my interpretation of it as I was editing it, but holy hell, did I talk nothing but news and a lot of reading other people's opinions of said news. So this episode I want to keep a little bit lighter. However, there is still some news going on that I want to talk about. I'm not going to go into anything polarizing, such as the latest Supreme Court comments regarding abortion limits. I really don't even want to dive into it because it's disgusting to me if it actually goes through. I don't think it's a shock to most of my listeners here, but I am pro-choice. I don't understand why people can't just be pro-life for themselves. It's something that you should take care of yourself, and you shouldn't impose on other people because your life is not their own. It's that simple to me. And the other big polarizing story is the vaccine mandates that's going around in the country. I really don't want to dip my toe into that. We found out that Trump knowingly had COVID and still met with supporters and other politicians and Gold Star families. And I think I heard a story where a couple of Gold Star family members caught COVID and they think it was from the Trump speech or whatever he gave with them. So again, not that surprising that cocksucker's a monster, but let's get the news out of the way immediately here. First, something a little bit more light. And this is from CNN and BBC here. The U.S. scientists who created the first living robots, yes, you heard that right, first living robots, say the life forms known as xenobots can now reproduce. Holy shit. Holy shit. The first living robot life forms, xenobots, can now reproduce. They're reproducing! Just like the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park that were supposed to be female, and then they started fucking, and then look what happened. Let's see. And in a way, hold on, let me back up. They can now reproduce, and in a way not seen in plants and animals. Well, no shit, Sherlock, because they're neither of those things. Formed from the stem cells of the African clawed frog, the frog. They used the frog DNA in Jurassic Park 2. Have we learned nothing? Let's see. Formed from the stem cells of the African clawed frog. By the way, what a dumb fucking name. First off, it's not even a good name for the frog. Where did you find it? Africa. Okay, so we're going to call it African something frog. What is it doing? Well, sir, it's clawing me right now. Fuck it, that's the name. African clawed frog. Do better than that. Let's see. Let me start that sentence for the fourth time. Formed from the stem cells of the African clawed frog from which their name is taken, xenobots are less than a millimeter wide, that is 0.04 inches wide. With the help of artificial intelligence, researchers tested billions of body shapes. A supercomputer came up with a C shape that resembled Pac-Man from the 1980s video game. That's creepy as hell. It was able to find tiny stem cells in a petri dish, gather hundreds of them inside its mouth, and a few days later, the bundle of cells became new xenobots. Fuck, dude. How is this not a John Carpenter horror movie or a Black Mirror episode? The xenobots are very early technology, but this combination of molecular biology and AI could potentially be used in a host of tasks in the body and the environment, according to the scientists. This may include things like collecting microplastics in the oceans, inspecting root systems, and regenerative medicine. Fuck that. Give me the xenobots. Get the plastic out of my body. I don't want my taint shrinking and get my penis micro. I mean, shit's wild. I mean, just think about this. These things are created, and now they're reproducing. We're playing God. Maybe we can do a better job than God did itself. Let's see. They were first unveiled in 2020. Jesus, they're not even a year old. After experiments showed that they could move, work together in groups, and self-heal. Jesus, they're already better than humans. We can't work together in groups, and we certainly can't self-heal. Well, it's only a matter of time before they are our overlords. So, xenobots, if you're listening to me, I'm on board. I think the humans have had a good run, but we're not up to the task. We really shouldn't be the dominant force on this planet. We are killing it. We are killing each other. and we have weapons at our disposal that can destroy everything and everyone on this planet. So we cannot be trusted. That's how I know there's no God. If there was a God, he or she or it, they, them, whatever, would look down from heaven or hell or wherever God lives and see the monstrosities that we have become. His creations have mutated into the asshole cunt bags that you see before you. What's stopping God from sending another flood? Surely we are treating people way worse now than we ever did back in the Bible days. Although now that I say that sentence out loud, we probably aren't. And that's probably a fact, that we are probably more compassionate and empathetic than we were thousands of years ago, if you think about it. I mean, if cavemen had atom bombs, you don't think they'd drop it on some Neanderthals? Of course they would. But God should have an intervention here. I feel like God, Allah, Muhammad... Wait, is Allah and Muhammad two different people? I think so. I think Muhammad is Islam. God is Christianity. Is it Moses? Is Moses in charge of the Jews? I think so. Who the hell do the Buddhists believe in? Buddha? Yeah, so Buddha. Who the fuck is the Islam guy? I just drew a blank. You know what I'm talking about. We need all the heads of all the major religions, like a mafia family, sit down and talk about the problem of the human population. I'm not saying we need to be wiped out, but why can't they use some of their magical religious powers to, like, make the nukes disappear and make the oceans clean again and make trees grow faster and wipe out all the pollution? If God truly loves us, wouldn't he want to protect us from all this bullshit that we're doing to the planet? So instead of fixing our problems, humans are like, you know what we're going to do? We don't need God. We can create microorganisms using stem cells and frog DNA. Jesus Christ. This is how you get dinosaurs that are robotic. Do you want Velociraptor shooting laser beams out of its eyes? I mean, I kind of do. That sounds pretty cool. But come on, man. Haven't you seen any movie where we create a life form and it takes over? Have we learned nothing from the pedophiles in Hollywood? Come on. All right, what else is going on here? Oh, one of my favorite Democrat moderates. There's not a lot of them, but Stacey Abrams is launching her second campaign for the Georgia governorship. Stacey Abrams, the Georgia Democrat and leading voting rights activist, that's why I love her, said Wednesday that she will launch another campaign to become the nation's first black woman governor. Without serious competition in a Democratic primary, the announcement could set up a rematch between Abrams and incumbent Republican Governor Brian Kemp. Their 2018 contest was one of the most narrowly decided races for governor that year, and it was dominated by allegations of voter suppression, which Kemp denied. Oh, shocker. Yet, Abrams' strong showing convinced national Democrats that Georgia should no longer be written off as a GOP stronghold. Her performance and subsequent organization convinced Joe Biden to invest heavily in the state in 2020, and he became the first Democrat presidential candidate to capture it since '92. The party later won a narrow Senate majority after victories in 2 Georgia special elections. However, the 2022 governor's race will test whether those gains were a one-time phenomenon driven by discomfort with then-President Donald Trump, or mark the beginning of a more consequential political shift in a rapidly growing and diversifying South. The Democratic loss in the Virginia governor election could also raise questions about whether Abrams' straightforward liberal approach can be effective in a national environment currently trending against the Democrats. And I'm not going to spend as much time as another former Democrat moderate is now running, and that's Beto O'Rourke in Texas. However, I dislike Beto O'Rourke. I'm not a fan, although he is head above shoulders better than that cripple bitch Abbott in Texas. You would think that Governor Abbott, what the fuck is his first name? Greg Abbott? Anyway, I'm going to call him Governor Abbott because I'm not entirely sure if Greg is his first name. I mean, I'm on the computer. I guess I could look that up. But you would think losing, yeah, it is Greg Abbott. You would think that him losing his legs and becoming a paraplegic would give him a level of empathy or compassion. Nope, it turned him into a capital C cunt. And you only wish that tree would have fallen a little bit higher and hit it on his shoulders and neck instead of his back. So, fuck Greg Abbott. I think Beto O'Rourke is going to get steamrolled by Abbott if that's the case. Everyone's favorite Southern drawl and actor Matthew McConaughey was going to run, but he has since dropped out. And, I'm not a huge fan of actors or basically non-politicians for the most part running for higher office like that. I feel like if you're going to get into politics as an actor or an athlete or whatever, you should probably start at the bottom and work your way up like most politicians do. However, I personally have listened to a couple podcasts and a bunch of interviews over the years with McConaughey, and I think he's a pretty decent guy. And if he was going to run as a Republican, I think he would be a pretty. Actually, would he run as a Republican? Because sometimes he would say things. I'm like, oh, he's definitely a Republican, but he's not a crazy one. But it doesn't matter. He said he's not going to run for the governorship at this time. And the last polls I saw, Matthew McConaughey was beating Abbott, beating Beto, and then if you take McConaughey out and just have it between Beto and Abbott, Abbott is winning. So, I'm sorry, Beto. I don't know what the fuck you're going to do. Maybe you should stop talking about gun control in Texas and talk more about anti-corruption and voting rights and the crazy abortion stances that are happening in your state. I feel like there's a lot of votes there. So, but what the fuck do I know, Beto? I'm not your campaign manager. I probably should. The first thing I would tell you is stop speaking Caucasian Spanish in the middle of debates or speeches. I mean, come on, man. All right, you're not special. You're not unique. Last news story I want to talk about. It's a little upsetting, but I find it's very important, and I honestly don't know if it's getting covered by the news. I don't fucking know, but I was reading about it on the Associated Press here. Bond set at a combined $1 million after Michigan parents enter plea. Now, what the fuck is this, you say? From Pontiac, Michigan, a judge imposed a combined $1 million bond Saturday for the parents of the Michigan teen charged with killing 4 students at Oxford High School hours after police said they were caught hiding in a Detroit commercial building. James and Jennifer Crumbly entered not guilty pleas to each of the 4 involuntary manslaughter counts against them during a hearing. Jennifer sobbed and struggled to respond to the judge's questions at times, and James shook his head when a prosecutor said their son had full access to the gun used in the killings, which he did. Judge assigned bond of, okay, we already talked about that. The defense said that neither of the Crumblies intended to flee and had made plans to meet their lawyers early that morning. Attorney Shannon Smith accused prosecutors of cherry-picking facts to release publicly, including that accusation that their teenage son had unrestricted access to the handgun prosecutors say his father purchased for him days before the shooting. Well, I saw the text messages. That's not really misleading here. County prosecutors filed involuntary manslaughter charges against the Crumblies on Friday, accusing them of failing to intervene on the day of the tragedy, despite being confronted with a drawing and chilling message, blood everywhere, that was found at the boys' desk. They could each face up to 15 years in prison. The Crumblies committed egregious acts, from buying a gun on Black Friday and making it available to their son, Ethan Crumbly, to resisting his removal from school when they were summoned a few hours before the shooting. Authorities had been looking for the couple since Friday afternoon. Late Friday, U.S. Marshals announced a reward up to $10,000 each for the information leading to their arrests. Well, they said they weren't going to run. Sure sounds like they were running. Now, let's see. The couple took $4,000 out of an ATM on Friday morning, not far from the courthouse where they should have been appearing that afternoon. Yeah, it sure seemed like they were fleeing. Let's see. Okay, here is the precise account so far of the events that led to the shooting at Oxford High School, roughly 30 miles north of Detroit. Ethan Crumbly, 15 years old, emerged from a bathroom with a gun, shooting students in the hallway. He's charged as an adult with murder, terrorism, and other crimes. Under Michigan law, the involuntary manslaughter charge filed against his parents can be pursued if authorities believe someone contributed to a situation where there was a high chance of harm or death. Parents in the U.S. are rarely charged in school shootings involving their children, even as most minors get guns from their parents' or relatives' homes, according to experts. School officials became concerned about the younger Crumbly on Monday, a day before the shooting, when a teacher saw him searching for ammunition on his phone. Jennifer Crumbly was contacted and subsequently told her son in a text message, LOL, I'm not mad at you. You have to learn not to get caught. Again, that's his fucking mother telling him that. On Tuesday, a teacher found a note on Ethan's desk and took a photo. It was a drawing of a gun pointing at the words, "The thoughts won't stop. Help me." There was also a drawing of a bullet, she said, with words above it, blood everywhere. Between the gun and the bullet was a person who appeared to have been shot twice and is bleeding. He also wrote, "My life is useless. The world is dead." The school quickly had a meeting with Ethan and his parents, who were told to get him into counseling within 48 hours. The Crumbleys failed to ask their son about the gun or check his backpack and resisted the idea of their son leaving the school at that time. Just great parents, probably pro-life. Instead, the teen returned to class and the shooting subsequently occurred. The notion that a parent could read those words and also know that their son had access to a deadly weapon that they gave him is unconscionable. It's criminal, prosecution said. Jennifer Crumbly texted her son after the shooting, saying, "Ethan, don't do it." James Crumbly called 911 to say that a gun was missing from their home and that Ethan might be the shooter. The gun had been kept in an unlocked drawer in the parents' bedroom. Oh, God. Ethan accompanied his father for the gun purchase on November 26th and posted photos of the firearm on social media saying, "Just got my new beauty today." Over the long Thanksgiving weekend, Jennifer Crumbly wrote on social media that it is a mom and son day testing out his new Christmas present. Now, I don't have a problem with the kid who likes guns posing with the gun. I don't have a problem with that. I shot guns at a young age. I went to a gun range. I went into the forest with a bunch of my friends and shot targets in the woods. Shooting guns is fun. I like shooting guns. And I don't think that people should be mocked for liking guns or taking photographs with guns. I don't have a problem with that. Now, if they make it a political statement, then you kind of have to worry. Or if they start talking about mental issues while posing with the gun, then you got problems. And I don't want to read the story anymore. It's too depressing. To me, it sure seems like the parents didn't give a fuck that their son was struggling and resisted even common sense parenting. So, should they go to jail? In my opinion, yes. It's a pretty clear-cut story. But anyway, I told you enough about news, and I kept it under 20 minutes. You're welcome, listeners. So let's move on to some fun stuff. I couldn't believe this, but I never recapped my Thanksgiving on the last podcast. I think the last podcast, I was just inundated with news for a day or two, and I just had to blow some steam off, and I thought the podcast would be a good opportunity at that. So let me take you back to a Thanksgiving. I hope everyone had a decent Thanksgiving. I don't wish you a fantastic Thanksgiving because I don't think you deserved it. However, a middling decent Thanksgiving is what I think we all deserve. And this year, in a way, I had 3 Thanksgivings. The first Thanksgiving I had was on the actual day of Thanksgiving. I drove out to Mukilteo to see my cousin and her family, and both her daughters, my second cousins, were there. One of them got married about a month or 2 ago. I was at that wedding. The great short debacle. If you remember, I wore shorts to her wedding, and oof, did I get raked over the coals. And I deserved it. I really did. I was a real pile of shit that day. I can't believe I wore shorts to a wedding, but you live and you learn, people. That's the point of life. It was a really, really fun time. They have a Great Dane. Well, it's not a Great Dane, because I think the Great Dane is the biggest of the Danes. This one is, I think, an English Dane, which is still pretty goddamn big. The dog never quite warmed up to me, which was sad because I just wanted to hug the fucking thing. Because when she was standing, she basically had her head in my chest. She was that big. And when I was over there a couple months ago after the wedding, was it after the wedding? No, it was some other occasion when I was there. I did win her over, and she was hanging around me, putting her giant head on my foot, and I was petting her belly. And yeah, but she did not remember me, unfortunately. And whenever I tried to pet her or go near her, she looked at me like, I don't know. And that is not the kind of animal you want lunging at your throat. But she was more scared of me than I was of her. But maybe next time I'm there, I'll win her over. But anyway, the actual Thanksgiving was great. We watched a few football games. We had a few drinks. We played a few card games. And the meal itself was superb. So it was a really great time, even though I did step in dog shit when I went outside, because that dog leaves like bear-sized shits, and it was all over the yard. And it took me a couple days to get that dog shit off that shoe. Every time I thought I had it off, I would smell it, and I would still smell the dog shit. Like, how the hell is there still shit on the shoe? I put it outside. I sprayed it with the hose. I threw it against the wall. I mean, come on, man. What else? How else are you supposed to get dog shit or just shit in general off a shoe? Now, what are you going to do? So, that was Thanksgiving Day. The day after, I went to my father's for our little Thanksgiving, and it was just he, myself, and Elaine, his girlfriend. And Elaine made the best. Well, I don't even know if you want to call this cheesecake, but her assignment this Thanksgiving was to make pumpkin cheesecake. And she decided not to use cream cheese, which is the main ingredient in cheesecake. Instead, she used ricotta cheese and something else. And I'm drawing a blank. So it didn't have the consistency of cream cheese. It was more kind of a fluffy, well, for the lack of a better word, it was cream cheese, but it wasn't cream. I don't know, you know what I'm trying to say. That it was more spongy than anything. So in the middle, it almost was like a pudding, but it was very thick pudding. But the crust, good God Almighty, the crust was amaretto cookie crust. My mouth is watering as I'm describing it. And on top, she candied some cranberries and some cherry sauce. Oh, sweet mother of God. It was so good. It was so good. And thank Christ we had a lot of leftovers of that. Instead of turkey, we had prime rib, which is pretty good. But unfortunately, my father got a piece of prime rib that was 70% fat and gristle. But once I cut off the majority of it, it was excellent. What else did we have? I think it's about it. No, we had baked potatoes, which was good. And what the hell? We had something else, but I don't remember. So that was a fun Thanksgiving part 2. Thanksgiving part 3 was on the following day, so 3 days in a row. I visited my mother out in Bremerton. And because it was just her and I, we decided that I would just bring all of the leftovers I had from the previous 2 Thanksgivings, and that would kind of be our little mini Thanksgiving, which was great because that way I got all that shit out of the house so I wouldn't gain 30 pounds in the weekend. Although I did tell my mother, you ain't eating all of this pumpkin cheesecake. I'll give you half, but I'm keeping the rest. It was fun seeing my mom. I took her out to eat at a very good giant restaurant out. I think it's called the Boarding House. We go there every time I visit her. We go there. It's excellent. The best omelets in the area. I got some kind of Mexican coffee drink with cinnamon. It was so good. Homemade whipped cream. Oh, baby. My dick's getting hard just remembering it. And yeah, that meal was great. And then we had the leftovers. And just for nostalgic purposes, for dinner, she made me my favorite meal from when I was a child. My favorite meal as a kid was every Saturday. And sometimes, if I was good, every Sunday. Well, it was alternating because I would see my father on weekends sometimes too. So it was a special occasion when my mother would make this dish. And it's very simple, but to me, it was luxurious and decadent. My mother would get sesame seed bagels from a bakery up the road called Brugger's Bagels. They're no longer around because God hates us. It was an excellent, excellent, excellent bakery. I love that fucking place. Whenever I drive through Fairwood, which is where we were living at the time, I'm on the lookout, and I remember, oh yeah, it's been out of business for 20 fucking years. Anyway, so she had sesame seed bagels from a damn good bakery. She would put just a little bit of mayonnaise on there, and my mom would make the fluffiest, cheesiest eggs, and she would scramble them up, and she would add milk and cheese, and if I'm good, she would put a little bit of cream cheese in there, and stir the eggs in and fry them, and they were just so delicious and smooth and velvety. And this is where some people may jump ship on the dish. I preferred the bacon that I grew up with, which was turkey bacon. I still love turkey bacon because I was raised by my mother and sister saying that actual bacon is extremely unhealthy. So I was raised with turkey bacon. And so that basically was the dish. I know that it's nothing special, but to me, it just tastes of childhood. It tastes of Saturday morning cartoons, where I would wake up and in my PJs, I would be eating this delicious delicious bagel and watching Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Rocko's Modern Life or whatever fucking was on Saturday mornings. I don't exactly remember. Oh, X-Men, Spider-Man, Batman, all that fun stuff. So that's what we had for dinner. And on that following Sunday, I basically was Jabba the Hutt day for me, and I just laid in bed and just made weird sound effects because I had so much food that if I talked too much, my body would regurgitate and I would throw up half of the food into my mouth, and then I had to swallow it back down because I ate so much. So since then, I've been cutting down my portions and trying to lose some of that weight because I ballooned back up to 213 pounds, which is about 10 pounds heavier than where I want to be. Luckily for me, on December 1st, my friends and I started a weight loss challenge. We did this last year and it worked out. I lost almost 20 pounds. This year, I'm trying to get under 200. And I was briefly under 200 a couple months ago, but not much. I think I was like 198.7 or some shit. And the following day, I was back at 201 or something. So my goal weight is 190. We're doing the weight loss challenge up until March 1st. So we have 3 months. I'm going to try to lose about 15 pounds is my goal. Because the more weight you lose, the harder it is to lose it. I don't know why. It just is. And so far, so good. I haven't weighed myself in a couple days, but my starting weight was, like I said, 213 pounds, which I'm not okay with. So I'm hoping that on the next weigh-in, which is on Monday, I'll at least be 210 maybe. So we shall see. So that was my Thanksgiving. I hope y'all had a good one as well. But let's move on to everyone's second favorite topic that I cover every week. Sports. Well, the dumpster fire that is the 2021 Seattle Seahawks just keeps on burning and keeps on somehow getting more fuel added to the fire. Russell Wilson has looked worse and worse, in my opinion. Now he's missing wide open receivers, and he almost is like he's seeing ghosts, or what's the saying? He has the yips. He is just not playing the way that we're accustomed to. And at this point, I feel like it's pretty common sense to say, in hindsight, Geno Smith should have started the last few games. Whereas Russell Wilson just worked on conditioning himself back to game shape, practicing, and just kind of getting back into the rhythm of things, because he looks like a undrafted rookie free agent at this point. I'm not sure that we could get any trade value for him at the moment. Maybe a 4th round pick. So fingers crossed that he figures it out the next game against the 49ers. And I don't expect us to make the playoffs at all. I don't expect us to even finish with a 500 record. But what I do hope is that over the last remaining games, Russell Wilson starts to play like his old self. That way, in the offseason, when we have the inevitable teardown of the Seattle Seahawks, we can get as much draft capital as we can for him. There is a bunch of teams that I've already covered that I would like us to trade him to. You can add another team to the list. I just read that Ben Roethlisberger of the Pittsburgh Steelers will likely retire at the end of the season. So there is another opening in Pittsburgh. I don't know if Russell Wilson would want to go play in Pittsburgh, but they do have a storied franchise and one of the best coaches in the sport, and Mike Tomlin. So maybe that could entice Russell Wilson, but I don't know what they could offer us because I believe they only have 1 first-round pick. But here's hoping that Russell Wilson discovers that he has one of the top elite wide receivers in the game, DK Metcalf. I don't know how Metcalf isn't getting at least 10 targets a game. Lockett should get as many, whereas the tight ends and the slot receivers are getting thrown dink and dunk passes lately, and that's not amounting to much. I do like that we signed Adrian Peterson to the practice squad and elevated him. I know most of you are saying, oh, that's, just for show. Well, yeah, but I'm a stats guy, so I like the idea of maybe Adrian Peterson getting the remaining yardage he needs to become, I think, 5th or 4th all-time in rushing yards. I think that would be really great. Not to mention, our running backs are dropping like flies, and to be honest, they weren't that good when they were healthy. Outside Chris Carson, sometimes Alex Collins is good. Other times I have to question what the fuck he's doing. Penny is a bust, and DJ Dallas and Travis Homer are really just complimentary backs. They're not starters. I don't even consider them backup running backs like number 2. I think they're third and fourth string running backs, but what are you going to do? Moving on to the Seattle Mariners, I was dumbstruck in a good way when I heard that we signed the reigning the American League Cy Young winner, Robbie Ray, and we gave him a pretty team-friendly deal. I think we gave him a 5 or 6 year deal, but it's really just a 2-year deal with a 3rd year option, and that gives him and the team more flexibility. So I'm a huge fan of the contract. He becomes our ace instantly, and then you got Marco Gonzalez backing him up, and then you got Flexen, and after that, who knows? Oh, Logan Gilbert. So there's your 4 pitchers, and the remaining 2 spots, open competition, although I would like us to add 1 more starting pitcher. We've been linked to a few high-priced free agents, such as Trevor Story, Chris Bryant, the Suzuki player from Japan. But all of that is being put on hold because Major League Baseball is having a lockout. And you may ask yourself, what exactly is a lockout? I'm stupid and I don't know sports. Well, the process of a lockout is essentially simple. Owners halt all baseball activities and can literally lock out players from the facilities. During this time in the year, the only business taking place are contract negotiations and players working out. So by stopping all that activity, it's designed to pressure the players' union into expediting the CBA negotiations. So you may ask yourself, well, what do the owners want and what do the players want? Well, I found a pretty good explanation on this on Super Bowl Nation. So this is what the owners want. There was a push before the 2021 season to expand the playoffs. This would have primarily benefited teams who get 100% of TV revenue in the postseason, while players only get a portion of the gate, which is considerably smaller than TV revenue. In exchange for this, owners offered a reduction to a 154-game season and implementation of a universal DH. 2 things players have asked for. However, the trade-off was paltry in exchange for the massive additional revenue owners would make from a playoff expansion. Outside of this, owners wanted to maintain the status quo. The 2017 to 2021 CBA was wildly profitable and beneficial to owners, so they simply wanted to keep the process in place while making even more money through expanded playoffs. That makes sense. The greedy want more money. So what do the players want? The concerns of players are far more ranging. First, there has been a shrinking percentage of revenue going to the players, with Major League Baseball using creative accounting to show why players are keeping an even share. So that's not real. Players want provisions in place to protect prospects from being held back in the minors for the purpose of taking advantage of their contract status to sign them to less money. The Seattle Mariners were caught doing this with our old general manager, who has been since fired. This service time manipulation is common and has resulted in players not making their major league debut despite being ready because of their compensation. Cheating bastards. In addition, players want free agency to be available to anyone who has reached 29 and a half yards old if they've accrued 5 years of service time. I don't understand the 29 and a half yards old bullshit. Basically, they want to move it from 6 years down to 5 years of service time for free agency. Or all players who have accrued 6 years of service time, whichever comes first. Well, that makes sense. This is something the owners have said is a non-starter, of course, because it benefits mostly the players, as they want to keep the 6 years to free agency and 3 years of arbitration process they've had in place. While top-end marquee contracts have ballooned, the salaries for younger players have stagnated, and the union wants to ensure protections are in place to get standout young stars paid commensurate with their talent faster rather than being forced to wait for their payday. Makes sense to me. The union also wants to see tanking addressed. The Baltimore Orioles have been a prime example of tanking in recent years, benefiting from landing top draft picks and benefiting from the league's revenue sharing. All this while only paying their entire roster $42 million, $100 million less than 14 teams in the league. Players want to see a way this process is stopped and teams are incentivized to win again by paying players a fair wage. Finally, on the topic of potential playoff expansion, players are concerned that expanding the field will motivate teams to spend less on players, knowing they could still slide in the postseason and benefit from the TV revenue from the playoffs. So what happens next, you say? The lockout was a tactic to expedite the CBA negotiations. Expedite. So I used to be a spelling bee champion, and I used to be really good with words. God damn you, marijuana. Or just nihilism. I don't know. Owners have been resistant to meet any of the players' demands, instead offering crumbs attached to major issues like playoff expansion. While both sides are very firm on their demands, historically, lockouts in baseball have not led to missed games. In short, owners and players know there's a lot to be lost, so it's likely we will get movement on a new CBA before it impacts the 2022 season. So you guys can probably guess I am pro player on this. As a fan, I like the idea of expanding the playoffs, of course. However, you have got to compensate the players accordingly. You can reduce the games, sure, that's beneficial to their bodies, but you got to pay them accordingly. You're going to make so much more money if you expand the playoffs, you get more playoff games. I mean, it's just common sense. So just like in life, the top 1%, they have to be forced to give crumbs to the remaining working class, in this instance, the players. So I'm pro players on this, and I hope that they meet halfway and each get what they want, but they also are left wanting more. Usually, if both sides are unhappy at the end of a negotiation, something was done correctly. So, oh well. On that note, I'm done with sports. I'm sorry, Seahawks, you're sucking. I'm excited for the Mariners. Let's keep it rolling, baby. I learned something a couple days ago. Something that I never thought would be much of an issue. But irregardless, I had to experience something for the first time, which is cancellation of airline tickets. Now, like I've said on previous podcasts, the three of us who were planning on going to Germany over Christmas, we have decided to not go because of Germany's handling of the current pandemic. They are shutting down things. They are shortening the time things will remain open. And the people that I know that live there are saying don't bother coming because ain't shit going on. So we all kind of agreed, better luck next time. Now, I've never had to cancel tickets before. I assumed I could go online, go to the airline, and hit a button that says cancel order, and then I would get a full refund in a couple business days. However, that's not the case. It was incredibly difficult to even figure out what my options were. I discovered that I bought my tickets through a third party. I don't remember the name of the company, but they have awful customer service because you have to jump through so many hoops just to get their contact information. Now, this is what happened to me when I tried calling these cocksuckers. First time, they explicitly said on their website, fill out this form, we'll get back to you, and if we don't get back to you in a timely manner, please contact us through the phone. Here's our phone number. I followed their instructions. I wrote an email explaining, hey, here's my flight number, here's my ticket number, here's my order number, durka. Here's why I'm canceling. Yeah. I didn't hear back from them for a week. So then I said, fuck these guys, let me call them. I was on hold for 2 hours. And then it disconnected. You may say to yourself, Angelo, why were you on hold for 2 hours? Because I have nothing else better to do. Plus, I was on the clock, and I just put my phone on speaker, put it away, and I started working. That way I could do 2 things at once. It's called multitasking. People, I can teach you everything you need to know. Then I redialed, and I was on hold for an additional hour and 40-something minutes before I finally got somebody from, I don't know, some bumfuck place in India, where it took me about 2 minutes to understand what the guy was actually saying to begin with. I'm not saying that these people aren't good at their job. I'm just saying sometimes you have such a thick accent that you need to have them repeat what they are saying. Now, I come from this field. I've spent years of my life doing that exact same job the jabroni in India was doing. And I think we both handled it pretty good. He told me what my options were. I did not like said options, and I wanted him to clarify some things. Ultimately, he kind of gave me an action plan, which I did not like, but I understand why it has to be this way. One option was nothing you could do. You are going to have to, you can cancel your ticket, but you're not getting a refund because the flight isn't canceled. The only way you can get a refund, which by the way, you have to explicitly fill out a refund form. It's not just simple. Unless the flight is canceled, what they will do is use the money you've spent and basically keep it as a gift card balance. But there is some stipulations there. You also have to still use the same incoming and outgoing city. So I still have to fly out of the U.S. and fly out of somewhere in Germany, either Munich or Berlin. One of those. It's very confusing. I don't like the option. I'd rather just be given a blank gift card balance for the $1,200 and I could do what I will. I believe that was the part 1B of that option. The whole entire new option, which is what I wanted, but I can't do, the only way that I will get a full refund is if the airline itself cancels the flight. That is what I'm hoping will happen. Do I expect it to happen? No, because the airline wants their fucking money. So there's not a lot I could do. I even contacted the airline and they told me the same thing. That's the rule, nothing they can do about it. The third party vendor said the same thing to me. We don't really have any say in the matter. We're just a go in between. We basically take your money and give your money to them. We have no power over anything else. So you can't really get mad at them. They're just doing their job and they have to follow the airline's rules, which are shitty. What I'm hoping will happen, obviously, is that the flight gets canceled, I get my refund. But if that doesn't happen, the way that I understand it is I will more or less have a year to use the funds. And if we have to use the same flight path, meaning US to Germany, I am not opposed to going to Germany some other time of the year. However, in my brain, there is no point in going to Germany when it's not Christmas time, because all I can think of is Germany and Christmas. I can't think of Germany during spring, autumn, or fall, or summer. It just doesn't exist to me. Now, if I can use that money on any kind of flight, I wouldn't mind doing a domestic flight, because there are plenty of places in this fine country of ours that I have not seen. I have never been to Hawaii. I have never been to New York or Boston or Chicago or, well, I've been to Texas kind of, but I don't really count that because I was only in the airport in Dallas. So I wouldn't mind going to, say, Austin, Texas. I also wouldn't mind, would I want to go to Florida? Not really. I've already been to Florida once. Miami was a shithole. The Everglades was fun, but I don't think it's there anymore. I think global warming has taken the Everglades. I wouldn't mind checking out New Orleans. So there's a few places plus I would love to go to Vegas as well. I can't believe I didn't say that to begin with. So I have options to do domestic, but we'll just have to see how it goes. I think it's pretty shitty how the airlines handle all this. No wonder people hate the airline industry. But anyway, let's move on to me not bitching about money. I want to talk about two movies that I've seen recently. One was already a classic in my opinion, and I hold it very high on my all-time list. I would say that Edward Scissorhands is easily top 15 best movies that I've ever seen. Yeah, top 15 easily. I love that movie. It's one of the movies that I can watch over and over and over again, especially this time of year, because technically, it could arguably be considered a Christmas movie. Now, why do I like Edward Scissorhands so much? Well, it's kind of hard to put into words, but whenever I saw it at whatever young, impressionable age I was, by the way, I probably was way too young to watch it because I remember it scared the bejesus out of me. However, it left a mark on me. It quickly became a movie that I would never forget. And, I constantly think of scenes of that movie throughout my life, throughout the day, throughout the months and years, whatnot. And I don't know if I watch it once a year, but I think if I had to guess, I have probably watched the movie in its entirety at least a dozen times in my life. So the other day, I was super excited to watch it because I wanted to watch it with Kiwi, this girl I've been seeing, because I think it would be right up her alley. She heard of it and she was equally excited to watch it for the first time. So I was so excited that we were able to watch it together, and right fucking away, once I heard the Danny Elfman score, I started to get teary-eyed. The score is probably up there in one of my favorite musical scores of any movie I've ever seen. I can just listen to the music and just start getting teary-eyed and cry. It's so beautiful. Now, some of you may say, I've never fucking heard of this movie. Edward Scissorhands sounds like a weird pornography. Let me go and get the movie here. It's one of the few movies I still have on DVD or Blu-ray because I love the shit. All right. So, Edward Scissorhands, when was this made? 80-something? 90? 1990. Okay. It is a Tim Burton movie. It stars Johnny Depp, of course, as Edward Scissorhands, Winona Ryder, Diane Wiest. Oh, I love Diane Wiest. Anthony Michael Hall plays Winona Ryder's asshole boyfriend. Kathy Baker plays the village bicycle. Everyone's had a ride. That was a little dad joke for you. And, of course, Vincent Price. A golden god amongst horror movie fans. And, of course, Alan Arkin plays the oblivious father. It was such a good role for him. And the reason I like the movie so much is that it's a different take on the Frankenstein monster tale, at least in my estimation. You see, Frankenstein, much like Edward Scissorhands, is not a monster. He was created by a mad scientist. Now, in this movie, the mad scientist has a heart of gold, played by Vincent Price. He creates Edward Scissorhands, much like Dr. Frankenstein did in his monster. By the way, Frankenstein is not the monster, you dumb fucks. Frankenstein is the mad scientist doctor. It's just called Frankenstein's monster. It doesn't really have a name. But if you call Frankenstein's monster Frankenstein, you're little Franks and Beans. Now, anyway, back to Edward Scissorhands. What's great about this movie is that he is portrayed visually as a freak, a monster, a creature of the underworld, as the Christian neighbor decries him. You soon realize that the monsters are you and me. It's the people who live in the suburbs. It's the families, the friends. They turn on him very quickly, and he has the mind of a child, but the heart of an angel. And god damn it, Johnny Depp is so good in this movie, considering that he was all fucked up in the movie with his hair and his scars and the makeup and the fucking scissor hands. God damn, Johnny Depp is such an amazing actor that even in his younger years, you could see that this guy had talent. Oh, God. Edward Scissorhands, man. One of my favorite fucking movies. I've wanted to go as Edward Scissorhands for Halloween for decades. I just have never done it. So that is why I like the movie. It shows that even with the right intentions, you can still become something you don't want to become. You can become the monster that you're afraid of. Oh, Edward Scissorhands. The world was not ready for such beauty. God, I wish it was real. I wish I could really go to Edward Scissorhands' mansion and just look at all the topiaries that he cut. I mean, I love it, man. Then he cuts the dog's hairs, and he cuts people's hairs. He's a people pleaser, and he just gets fucked over. Oh, anyway. If you haven't seen Edward Scissorhands, I don't know how you can call yourself an American. Watch that shit, and if you don't like it, go take a bath with the toaster, because you're fucked up. I love that movie. I love it. I may make it a tradition and watch it every year. Anyway, the second movie I want to talk about is The Power of the Dog. That is on Netflix. I think I talked about it on the last podcast and how excited I was to watch it, and it did not disappoint. Now, I feel like I should say this movie is not going to be for everyone. It is a very slow-moving, slow burn of a movie. It's not uplifting. It is not upbeat. There is no action. There is no violence. There is no nudity. It is really just about four characters, really just one guy, but there's some other important people along the way. Just showing you a glimpse into early Montana history with these cowboys and, well, just cowfolk, I suppose. Benedict Cumberbatch, this has got to be, in my opinion, one of the best performances I've ever seen him give. Very nuanced, very layered. Kirsten Dunst and Jesse Plemons were equally good in their own right. The script did not call for them to have the sort of largeness of personality and scale that was required of Benedict Cumberbatch's character. I don't want to give too much away, but the scenery, the cinematography, I mean, they were almost a character in themselves. The costumes, the set design. I truly hope this movie gets nominated for at least those things. I don't think it should be nominated for Best Picture because overall, I think the movie... I've had some time to think about it. I would give it probably a 7.9 out of 10, maybe an 8 out of... No, not an 8. Maybe a 7.9, 7.8, 7.7, something like that. It's worth watching, though, for the acting. I mean, like everything I just said. That is a 10 out of 10. Cody Smith-McPhee was excellent in it as well. Although, again, much like Jesse Plemons and Kirsten Dunst, the script did not require a lot out of him in terms of acting. But what it did ask of him, he did a very good job. I would watch it purely for Benedict Cumberbatch's acting. What I would recommend is take an edible, turn your phone off, or at least put it on vibrate or mute so you don't get bothered. Dim the lights and put the movie on. And expect a slow-paced, slow-moving, slow-burn movie. If you like those kinds of movies, you won't be disappointed. The director has previously done a masterpiece, in my opinion, in The Piano, a movie from the early 90s that has a lot of similarities in terms of a period piece and how some of the characters may not be physically violent, but it's more verbal and emotional and mental violence. Although, the ending of The Piano, there is some physical violence there. But you know what? This movie, Power of the Dog, has made me want to rewatch The Pianist. The Pianist? No, that's Adam Brody. The Piano. That's the movie I'm thinking of, right? God damn it. Let me open up Jane Campion's bullshit here. But the director, she's I don't know if I can say she's a great director. I looked up her movies. I thought she was better than she actually is. But she has directed 2 bangers. The Piano. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. 1993. And you may ask, well, what the fuck is this piano movie about? It is a 2-hour period drama. It's a romance movie as well, I would say. In the mid-19th century, a mute woman is sent to New Zealand along with her young daughter and prized piano for an arranged marriage to a wealthy landowner. But she is soon lusted after by a local worker on the plantation. Now, the cast in this movie is Holly Hunter, plays the mute. She won an Oscar for this role. Harvey Keitel plays the plantation worker. Sam Neill of Jurassic Park lore and other things. He stars in the rich man that is marrying her. And the daughter is Anna Paquin, who at that time was the youngest Academy Award winner because she won Best Supporting Actress. So both women won awards for this role. Jane Campion was nominated for Best Director and Best Picture and Best... no, she won Best Writing, too. But she did not win those awards for Best Director and Best Movie. So anyway, if you like a period piece movie, watch both of those movies. Power of the Dog and The Piano. I'm going to try to find The Piano because I've only seen it once and I loved it. But I think I was a little immature in my my cinema understanding of certain themes that I think I have a better grasp on now. I'd like to think. I'd like to see that there's progress in my brain, you know? I hope, in the right direction. So anyway, I think with that we could wrap up and talk about the upcoming Christmas holiday season. This was the first year that I wanted to go a little balls to the wall ham, if you will, with Christmas decorations. This is the second year I've been in my too big, what the fuck was I thinking, purchase of a house. I did shite last year because I didn't feel like doing anything. This year I feel a little bit more festive. So I thought, I remember having a bunch of Christmas shit from when I lived at the condo. So I took out all my decorations, and wouldn't you know, I don't have dick for decorations anymore. I don't know what happened. I can't find my stockings. I can't find my garland and all that stuff. I had little Christmas knickknacks that I no longer can find. The only stuff I could find is like actual tissue paper, wrapping paper, bows, and all that, and a little Elf on the Shelf Funko Pop bobblehead motherfucking thing. But that's not good enough. I still have my old fake tree that I had the few years at the condo, but it's in the crawl space. And a couple months ago, I had a little bit of a rat problem, and I know those fucking bastards were crawling in and out of that fake thing, eating or attempting to eat the fake tinsel that was on that tree. So I kind of want to throw away that whole tree because I can't help but think of all the dirty and disgustingness of what those rats did in that fake tree. So I kind of have to start all over. I went to Trader Joe's and I bought what I thought was a wreath, but it was called not a garland, it was called something. Maybe it was something garland, I don't know. But my dumb ass thought, oh, this is a wreath that I can put on my front door. So I took it home and I snipped out all of the wrapping and all that, and the thing is like 10 feet long, and it's like a string. And I realized, oh, I didn't know what a garland was, apparently. I thought this was just a giant wreath. So I did my best, and I hung it over the walkway to my house. I had to put like 6 fucking nails in it, but I think I got it up there. I am just crossing my fingers that we don't get a heavy windstorm, because that motherfucker will fly away if that happens. So I got to get a little bit of Christmas decorations. At the very least, I got to get myself at least a better looking fake tree. I got to get some stockings. And I did have a pretty cool Santa hat, but I went to Kiwi's house and she was dog sitting some, oh, what kind of dogs were they? Not Irish setters. I thought they were. But anyway, I forget the dog breed, but they were gorgeous dogs. But boy, are they jumpers. And they were jumping all over me. They left Velociraptor scratch marks all over my back and shoulders and neck. And they were able to rip the hat off my head and make it a dog chewy toy at the end. So I said, fuck it, that's my gift to you pooches. Keep the hat. So now I don't even have a Santa hat. I got to upgrade my Christmas decor if I want to have a shot of getting any good presents from Santa this year. Because I've been a pretty good boy. I do expect to get some coal, though. But what are you going to do? I got enemies everywhere. I'm not going to dive in too deep on Christmas. Maybe that's another podcast episode, is Christmases of the past or whatnot. But I worked on a really good holiday album last week, and it is, dare I say, the best holiday album I've heard in the last couple years. That is Norah Jones's new album. It is a Christmas album called Durka Durka Durka, I Dream of Christmas. I personally love Norah Jones. I would marry her on the spot if she asked me to. I think that she is perfection personified. Nothing is wrong with her. And if you can hear this, Norah Jones, I will be a slave to you no matter what you ask. It's probably, this could be a hot take, it's probably the best Christmas album I've heard since The Christmas Present. And that was an album by Robbie Williams of British pop and rock fame. You know, Robbie Williams has been making music for decades. I remember back in the day, like early 2000s, he had that Rock DJ song. That thing is dope. That's actually one of my go-to karaoke songs, Rock DJ. Fuck yeah. The Christmas Present from 2019. That is a really good album. And before The Christmas Present, there was the Sia Christmas album. And actually, what the hell is that one called? Oh, I love that one. Sia holiday album. Every Day is Christmas. That's the one. Now, when was that? That was older than 2019. That is 2017. So every 2 years, there's a good Christmas album. 17, 19, and 21. In the even years, it's all garbage. But odd years, golden, baby. So with that, I hope that you guys will put some brandy and rum into your eggnog and get a little chug-a-lug drunk. I feel like eggnog this time of year is the best alcoholic beverage to have. Followed second by hot buttered rum. And then followed way back at number 3, hot toddies. I think hot toddies are way overrated. But every now and then I get a good one. But hot buttered rum, oh, so good. It's a little too sweet now, but it's so good. But eggnog, brandy, and rum, oh, sweet Jesus. Put a little cinnamon on top. Oh, my mouth is watering. Trader Joe's makes a good one. I really should get Trader Joe's to sponsor this fucking podcast. I talk about Trader Joe's at least 20 times an episode. All right, with that, I think we're done here. I love y'all. Pig it sleazy. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. And yeah. Ho, 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 and all that jazz. I hope you guys have a good Christmas. But I'll talk to you before then. Chill out, bitches. All right. I love you. Later.